Hi there, my name is Toby and today I want to keep talking about my ether physics. And today I want to talk about an idea, again an idea for a genuine free energy machine. And this will be a free energy heater. Solid state, in other words no input of energy required, it just gives out energy. That's the ultimate free energy machine, is no input is required. See, there's two types of free energy. There's one that you would call over unity. So you're allowed to put some energy into it, but you must get more energy out than you put in. But the best of the best free energy machine would be solid state. You don't put anything into it, energy just comes out of it. Like this magnet. This is a magnet. Here's another magnet. It's solid state, no energy going into it. You have to put energy into making it, but once it's made, that's it. And now, you see, with another magnet, it's got continuous force coming out of it, continuous energy. So imagine you can have another one of these. This is just magnetism, but imagine you can have another one of these where electricity comes out. I've already talked about that. But imagine you could have another one of these where heat comes out. It just heats up all by itself. That's what I want to talk about today, a free energy heater. Now, it's not my idea. The idea comes from Ken Wheeler. And I'm going to leave the link to the video below where he talks about this idea a bit, and he talks about free energy, point source devices. Brilliant talk, recent video by Ken Wheeler. So I thoroughly recommend him and his channel, and check out that video. Brilliant talk about free energy. But today I want to take his idea, tell you a bit about his idea, and take it 2 or 3 steps further. So again, I'd love to have a chat with Ken one day about these ideas, do a proper interview with him. So let's see if that ever happens. But let me tell you about this idea first of all. So it's so simple, so brilliant, that nobody can deny this is a genuine free energy machine. Now, it's not yet practical. What he's talking about is not practical, but it is genuine. It's genuine. So what he did, essentially he had a big magnet, a supermassive magnet. So, and then he also had a bismuth sphere. So bismuth is a particular material it's called diamagnetic. Diamagnetic, which means it is repelled by magnetism. So it doesn't matter if you put the North Pole or the South Pole, it's always repelled by magnetism. You see, this is where things get complicated. You've got magnetism and you've got gravity. And I've already explained these two things are the same force. Fundamentally, they are the same force, but they manifest in different ways depending on what you've got. You see, the universe is made up of several things now. You've got matter and you've also got electricity. You've got charge, you've got magnetism, you've got energy itself. So when you have a combination of matter and energy, you can have all these different effects. So diamagnetism is one of these particular effects in a substance. It's always repelled by magnetism. And bismuth is the most diamagnetic material in the universe. Interesting to note, superconductors are also diamagnetic. A superconductor works by repelling all the fields around it. So it slips through the field. And I've talked about that before in terms of UFOs. A UFO will have a magnetic field around it, turning it into a superconductor so that it will slip through the field. No field will affect it if you have enough power in that magnetic field, and you can create it in such a way that it is spherical, it surrounds the field. So it is a complex thing to do, but nevertheless, theoretically, this is how it could work. So bismuth is a natural substance that has this effect, and without explaining to you the details of this effect, let me just explain the principles of why you have these different effects. And you've also got another one called paramagnetism. So paramagnetic materials are always attracted. North Pole or the South Pole both will attract a paramagnetic material. A diamagnetic material, North Pole or South Pole both repel it. So these are two interesting effects. And really it's to do with magnetic induction. It will induce the opposite magnetic effect in the material. So again, this is an effect created by a particular type of atom or a particular structure. And if you look at it, the atom is already quite complicated. The atom, you've got a nucleus. The nucleus is the proton and the neutron. And these are already the creation of matter. The creation of matter comes from this. They're still basically electromagnetism, but spinning around and around themselves. So this electromagnetism, pure energy, pure fluid energy, when it's locked in a little circular loop, that creates a magnetic field, creates the effect of mass. Mass is an effect created by a particle which is still created from electromagnetism. So again, even particles are still pure fluid energy, but they're pure fluid energy locked in a particular cycle. Again, it's a particular formation of energy creates the effect of mass. But around the nucleus of an atom, you have electrons. So that makes the atom a lot bigger. But electrons, again, they say, have got hardly any mass, virtually zero mass, a little bit of mass. But again, this will be an effect. Electrons, again, are not particles. These are more like pure fluid electricity. But in an atom, you require particular quantities of it. So we can call that electrons. Particular fixed quantities of electricity are required in an atom. That's where quantum comes in. But again, they say they're not particles. Okay, modern quantum physics will accept the electron is not really a particle, it's a field. And even they say they try to locate the particle, it's more like a point. You can't really locate it. Again, it's an infinitesimal point, which again goes to the ether physics, the 0 point, or the point of inertia. So there's a lot more detail to the construction of an atom that I haven't gone into full explanation yet. But if you can understand, you've already got a combination of a nucleus and an electron, some fluid electricity combined with some material substance. And when you have different quantities of neutrons and protons, you've got different structures, different effects, and you'll have different quantities of electrons. So some atoms will have different effects to other atoms. Some atoms, for example, are unstable, radioactive atoms. The atom itself is so big, it's unstable, and it's always falling apart, collapsing slowly. So that again, those atoms were naturally created. At some point they were created, but the moment they were created, they are so unstable, they're always falling apart. So again, different atomic structures creates different geometries, creates different effects. And diamagnetism and paramagnetism are different effects created by these different types of atoms. So put that all aside, we know that they exist. So now what is this machine? Essentially what it was, so he had a big magnet and this bismuth sphere. He just put the bismuth sphere on top of this big magnet. And what happens is the bismuth sphere, because it's diamagnetic, it essentially resists the magnetic field. So if you imagine this giant magnet, here's a magnet like this, the magnetic field wants to go round and round to the point in the middle. If I put bismuth on the top, it's going to block the magnetic field coming in. It just blocks it. So it will apply resistance to the magnetic field itself. And all that does, when you apply resistance to the magnetic field, it warms up, it heats up. We all know that a resistor in an electric current heats up. That's what an electric heater is. But the same thing will apply to the magnetic field. If you apply resistance to the magnetic field, which is done by a diamagnetism, i.e. bismuth, then the whole thing heats up. So Ken Wheeler has already done this experiment and proven it. So he's done it, and he said it takes 10 hours or so to heat up, and it heats up to about 6 to 8 degrees above ambient temperature. So if you had 20 of these in the room, the whole room would heat up. They'll just heat up by themselves, and they'd be permanently heated. So that is a total free energy machine, solid state. No input of energy, you just put these two substances together and they heat up. Free energy. And again, I haven't done the experiment, I'm just talking about his video, but he has done the experiment, and I'm sure any of you out there who've got any bismuth or any powerful magnets can try it. I'll be very curious to know if you try it, what you find. But let me take this idea a step further. Imagine now you understand the diamagnetic material applies resistance to the magnetic field. Now what about if you had a square magnet like this, You really want to block the whole top. So you need another piece of square bismuth to go on the top. And you want it really tight to the magnet. So you really want to compress the two, have it under pressure. You're squeezing the two together because, of course, it will be repelled away slightly. So the closer you can get the bismuth to the magnet, the more potent it will be. And what about this? Again, if you had this, you make this thinner. A thin layer of magnet, basically make a sandwich. A thin layer of magnet, then you have a layer of bismuth, another magnet, another bismuth, another magnet, another bismuth. You have a sandwich. And it's the same idea I talk about to create a free energy battery, a piezoelectric battery. It would be a sandwich between piezoelectricity and magnets. And the two magnets will pull together and squeeze the piezoelectric material, thereby creating a charge. And the same in this. In a heater, you would have two magnets together squeezing a piece of bismuth. So the two magnets want to squeeze together, but the bismuth is repelling both of them away. So you're creating a powerful resistance. And then if you create a sandwich of this, it's layering up more and more and more and more. And then if you've got the sandwich of it and then you compress it, hold the whole thing under pressure, clamp it down really tight. And what you'd have to do is essentially clamp it down and then weld it inside a steel block so it holds itself under pressure. Then my theory is that would have a coherence effect, a multiplicative effect, and it would get much hotter. But it will be solid state free energy heater. No input of energy required. It will just be permanently hot. You just got a permanent heater, and all you do is put them around your house wherever you need them. It's prohibitively expensive now. For a powerful magnet is thousands of dollars. I think bismuth is not that expensive, but still, it's still a free energy machine. And with some experimentation, again, it will need serious mathematics to work out the dimensions, the proportionality between magnet and the bismuth, and the best optimum size for it, the best number of layers to have, and the pressure to hold it under. What pressure do you need to hold it under? So it's just an idea, but it's a serious idea. And again, this is all to do with free energy. It's so possible. Free energy, again, people just don't believe it. And why don't they believe it? I just don't understand why they don't believe it. Again, one of the arguments is you cannot have perpetual motion. But of course you can have perpetual motion. You've got two perpetual forces. You've got gravity. That is a perpetual force. It's always there. As long as you've got matter, there's gravity. And you've also got magnetism. Magnetism is a perpetual force. Again, as long as the magnet is held together, there will be magnetism. So these are two perpetual forces. Again, I've already explained it. They're one and the same force, but they are two manifestations of the same force based on the geometry of an atom. So again, this is all based on geometry. Geometry is the secret to changing the manifestation of this force. But if you've got gravity and you've got magnetism, they're two perpetual forces. You can use these two things to create perpetual motion. Now, you've already done it. You can spin a wheel just with magnets. But imagine, very simple, you've got a ball bearing, a metal ball bearing, and you've got a loop, you've got a tube. So the ball bearing wants to go round and around this tube. Now, if you put the ball bearing at the top, gravity will make it fall down. As it falls down, it will swing round. Now, how do you get it to go up again? Well, if you have magnets going up at the right angle, depending on where the tube is, so the magnet gets to this point, the ball bearing gets to this point, the magnet then starts to push it up. Then the next magnet pushes it up, next one pushes it up, goes over the top, then it falls down. Magnets lift it up, gravity pulls it down. You will have a perpetual motion. Very, very simple. The ball bearing will just go round and round and round. So you can have perpetual motion because you've got perpetual forces. Gravity and magnetism are a perpetual force. And again, they're just one force. They're all based on one force, whether you call it gravity or magnetism, still the same force. So that's not a big deal. Now, interesting enough, in that video also, Ken Wheeler talks about point source. He talks about pyramid magnets. Pyramid magnets. So this is a normal magnet, a square magnet, So a square magnet here is balanced, it's symmetrical. The magnetic field can balance the top and the bottom. But if I turn this into a pyramid, what happens is it changes the flux at the top. The flux at the top becomes more powerful at the top than the bottom. It changes the dynamic. It becomes an asymmetrical magnet. So that's another way you can increase the power of the magnetic field just by changing the geometry of the structure. Geometry is the secret to creating this energy, free energy. So again, let's take his idea a bit further. Another idea, imagine you had a pyramid magnet. So now at the top of this is very powerful. And then you had a bismuth sphere. And what you want to do is put the bismuth sphere on top of the pyramid magnet. But what you have to do is cut out a little hole in the bismuth sphere so that it fits on top of the pyramid. And what you'll have is something like my spiral pyramid here. I've got a pyramid below and a sphere at the top. But the sphere will just slot on top of the magnet, and the moment it fits on top of the magnet, the whole thing is created and it will heat up. Because the top of this magnet now has got a very powerful magnetic flux trying to get out. It's trying to get out and go round to the bottom, and it's trying to go round spherically. It's coming out of a point now. The point of the magnet is very powerful, a tip. The point comes out spherically around, but you've got a sphere of the bismuth around the point of the magnet. So now you've created a very powerful resistance all around the tip of a very powerful point source magnet. Now that I think would heat up even more. That again would increase the efficiency of Ken's design. So I'd love to have a proper chat with him about his idea and see what he thinks of my ideas. But I'm putting them out there. That's what I do. I'm open sourcing my ideas about free energy. They're just ideas. But I'm open sourcing them to see what happens. See if it stimulates any more new ideas. And I should say one more thing, very interesting. On that video, if you look at the comments, there's a comment by someone who says, there was a guy called Salvatore Pais. He was a Navy aeronautical engineer. And he put a patent through. He put a patent through in America during the first term of the new president. I don't want to say his name. Let's call him Mr. T. During Mr. T's first president term, he was trying to put a patent through for a free energy machine. Now, the patent office wouldn't do it. And there you see the corruption. People put these patents out. You can't put the patent out. You've just got to open source it. The patent office don't like these. Everyone knows it now. There's thousands of patents that are confiscated, hidden away. Secret organisations have these patents. Why don't we have them? Secret. So this is one of them. He put out a patent for a free energy machine, but they didn't want to put it through. But Mr. T and his lawyers, they forced the patent office to accept it. So that's another good thing he's done. At least he's put that through. But again, they've got so many secret ones, he's still got to, let's see if he reveals some of the other secret patents. If he reveals them, that would be very good. Let's see what he does. But there's so many secrets going on that no one man is really going to be able to get them all out. They're too big. The powers that control this are way above the authorities. You know, the system the political system is way above the political system. So it's still limited what we can ever get out. But nevertheless, they put the patent through. But what was the patent? The patent was for a plasma compression fusion device. A plasma compression fusion device. That's exactly what I talked about in my previous talk on plasma and plasmoids. I did not know about this guy at the time of that talk. I'll leave the links below to that talk again. But I'm describing exactly, it seems, what this guy has made. And I have not checked out his patent, but if any of you guys want to investigate it, look at Ken's video in the comments below. You'll see the comment. And you can check out whether this is true or not. But I've got no reason to believe it's not true. Salvatore Pais, the inventor. But that's what I'm talking about. It's compression. You've got to focus everything into a point. And you create plasma through compression, and his design was based on electrodes, 4 to 6 electrodes, pointed electrodes, so again like a pyramid going to a point towards the center. You compress the energy into a point. That's how you will create the plasma. And once you create a plasma, you create a high energy state where energy can come out of it. but you have to maintain the plasma. So you've got to put energy in. But if you can create a structure, particularly a solid state structure, you can imagine a sequence of these pyramid magnets pointing towards the center. That's going to do something. Then you've got a solid state free energy machine that creates a plasma which will create energy, fusion energy. So for fusion, it's got to be very, very high energy plasma, and it's got to be controlled. The only way you control a plasma that high energy is with a powerful magnetic field. They know that. They're trying to do it. But there you go. This guy seems to have done it. He's invented it. Plasma compression fusion device. That's what they call it. Now, there is another device with magnets for healing. I've talked about it once before as well. And I'll leave the link below to the website where you can buy these. I do want to buy one. I haven't got around to buying one yet. But it's a similar thing. Using magnets in alignment to create a multiplicative amplification effect. All it is a semicircle, a sphere, half a ball. So you can imagine a hollow ball, but inside that ball you've got all little magnets stuck inside, and they're all pointing towards the middle of the ball. So all the little magnetic fields combine at an angle to go to one point, and it's half of the ball, and then you could put this ball on your body, different place on the body, because all these little magnetic fields combine up to a single point where it becomes extremely powerful. And then you use that for healing. It's proven to do amazing things in healing. You need a powerful magnetic field to really have a powerful effect in healing. So he's done a lot of work in developing this device. A serious scientist. But again, I want to take his device to the next level. If you can imagine his device, now you can understand a pyramid magnet that Ken Wheeler talks about. Imagine his device, a larger one, a semicircle. But inside this semicircle, a semisphere, a hemisphere, hollow, you have lots of magnets in array, but they're all pyramid magnets. Pyramid magnets pointing towards the point, the point of the midpoint of the circle, or the point of the top of the semicircle, the hemisphere. Now that would be even more powerful. Even more powerful. You'd create a massively colossal magnetic field at a point using pyramid magnets in alignment. And there's a lot of technology done with aligning pyramid magnets and just putting magnets in alignment. Geometry. The magnet itself is based on geometry. All the atoms are aligned. They all have to line up to create a magnet. That's geometry, alignment. It's the secret of free energy. Geometry is metaphysics. That is the ether. It's abstract. It's an idea. You have an idea for a shape, then you put real things into that shape. Then you have technology. And all technology is geometry. Everything is based on some sort of geometry. Substances and geometry. That's what create technology. Now, ether physics, which I do, is pure geometry. This is just pure geometry. It has no obvious effect, but it has an etheric effect. It still will affect consciousness, because consciousness is the creator of geometry. Very deep. Consciousness creates geometry, but geometry is in consciousness. I can visualize a perfect circle. That's only consciousness. That's in the ether. But here I try to create a perfect circle. You can't quite create it, but the closer to a perfect circle you can create, the more powerful that geometry would be. And the more powerful the effect of that geometry, the more powerful the technology would be. So you would have to create these things with perfect geometry. You have to calculate it. The perfect proportionalities of a pyramid, say. There'll be something in it, and it will be to do with the golden ratio. Again, the golden ratio is the secret of all this proportionality, and Ken Wheeler talks about the golden ratio. So I always knew the golden ratio was important, but Ken Wheeler is the guy that has really worked out how important the golden ratio is. And he's the guy really to have discovered or rediscovered the grand unified field theory, which is to do with the golden ratio. It's a particular formula. It goes 1 over phi to the power negative 3, phi being the golden ratio. Now, it's a long discussion to explain what that means, but that is essentially the proportionality between the metaphysical world and the manifest physical world. It's very deep. So Ken Wheeler's the guy to rediscover that in I think, Pythagoras, he discovered it. But he's the guy to realise how important it is. No one else has realised how important that formula is. So really for that, Ken Wheeler should get the Nobel Prize. That is Nobel Prize level stuff. But they'll never give him the Nobel Prize. But that is the real thing. If anyone should get the Nobel Prize, it should be him for that. That is the ultimate grand unified field theory, the way to explain the whole universe. And if quantum physics, modern science took him seriously, took us seriously, people like us talking about free energy, we'd move a lot faster, we'd get a lot further. Ultimately, we want to work together. See, I'm not dismissing quantum physics, but what I'm saying is they don't understand it properly. They've got to go back to the beginning, look at it all over again. They've made it very complicated. It's a lot simpler if you can understand ether and you can understand geometry. Then look at all your experiments again with this philosophy. You will have different ideas. That's all I'm trying to say. So I know I've been confrontational about this, but ultimately, if we really want free energy, and there are going to be real scientists out there who are looking for it, but they don't understand ether, they're still lost on quantum mechanics. You guys, look at ether. Different philosophy. Different philosophy. The secret is there. Secret is there. So I hope this little talk made sense. Again, I'll leave the links below to Ken Wheeler's video. Brilliant little talk on free energy. If you want to understand more about how it works, and he talks about this little free energy heater that he's invented, bismuth and a powerful magnet. Solid state, ever so simple. So thank you so much for listening, and please do leave me any questions or comments below. And sometimes they disappear. It's not me. I never delete a comment. Please keep trying. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.